Hello, Niner Faithful. Welcome back to another episode of Voice of a Niner Faithful, where we dive into all things San Francisco 49ers. Before we jump into today's discussion, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay up to date with all my latest content. Speaking of subscribing, I only need 9 more subscribers, 9 more to be able to go live, which I'd love to do for my first game of the season that I'm going to, which is week 2 against the Vikings. So if we could give a fellow faithful some help and subscribe. Also, comment. The more comments I get, the better I can get at this. I'll bring up whatever comments you mention. If you watched my last episode, I brought up someone had a comment from the previous, brought their issues up. So come on, bring those comments on and subscribe. All right, let's dive in now. Today we're going to talk about a topic that always stirs up some anxiety among fans. It's the trap game. Once the NFL schedule gets released, fans, analysts, and even players start making their own predictions for the season. Among these predictions, there are always a few games that the fans become nervous about. They're the matchups that the team is supposed to win but ends up losing. We call these trap games, and every NFL franchise has them every season. So it's not just us, folks. Everybody goes through it. So for the San Francisco 49ers and their 2024 season, there are 3 games that stood out to me as potential trap games. Some of these games you might have read about. That's where I'm getting a couple of them from, and I agree with them. One of them is I don't know. I haven't read anybody saying that it's a trap game, but I think it might be. So let's dive into these matchups and analyze what they might be, why they might be more challenging than they appear on paper. So the first one up is the first game of the season, which unfortunately I'm going to have to take 4 hours of vacation just so I can watch it. The first game of the season against the Jets. It's the 49ers will be hosting the Jets on Monday Night Football, so a big primetime game. Why is this a trap game, though? Let's take a look back at our wonderful 2022 season home opener when they lost to the Bears 19-10, and the Bears ended up with a 3-14 season record that season. I'll get that down. History could repeat itself. I kind of hope it doesn't. 1, because I want them to win. 2, I was at that game and it poured. I mean, talk about rain. Holy crap. Anyway, yeah, you just never know what's going to happen. The Jets will also have a healthy Aaron Rodgers leading their offense, despite missing last year to that Achilles rupture. Rodgers he's a veteran quarterback, and we faced him a lot throughout his career. Offensively, the 49ers might struggle to establish the run game against the Jets' stout defensive line. Consider who their head coach is and what he used to do. Hint, hint. With a strong running game, quarterback without a strong running back, can't even talk that through all the way. Without a strong running game, the quarterback, Brock Purdy, could face intense pressure, leading to the turnovers and mistakes. This could set up a rocky tone for the start of the season if the Niners aren't careful. Yes, I'm not going to redo that just because I want to show you that I'm human when I do this show. Everything happens. And, of course, let's not forget the first game of the season always brings its own challenges. Teams are still working out the kinks. They're trying to get the rhythm, adjusting to any new roster changes or coaching strategies, which the 49ers will probably be doing since we have a new defensive coordinator. The pressure of performing, lots of P's, well on national TV adds another layer of stress. The Jets, under head coach Robert Saleh, will be looking to make a statement right out of the gate, and we can't afford to underestimate them, especially with Rodgers aiming to prove that he still has it. You know what? I forgot to swing this over too. There's our schedule, speaking of, and I circled the 3 games that I'm going to be talking about. Speaking of the Bears, that we lost to in 2022, first game of the season. Week 14, it's home game. It's possible that we could lose to them. Even though the Bears finished with a losing record last year, there's new hope surrounding the organization heading into the season. They got their quarterback, supposedly, Caleb Williams, and by week 14, I'm pretty sure he's going to have some good chemistry with his receivers, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, that rookie Rome Odunze. I'm killing his name. I know I am. Additionally, they got DeAndre Swift as a running back now, so it's going to be interesting. I still think Caleb Williams is a little overrated, but we'll see how it goes. I mean, consider what they thought of Justin Fields when they got him, and I think they're doing pretty much the same thing with Caleb Williams, a little overhyping. But I think he's going to do okay, but not against us. But it still could happen. 49ers will be coming off a tough victory because I think they're going to win. That's a prediction right here. Buffalo Bills, they're going to win against them in week 13. But that could leave them pretty beat. I mean, it's going to be a tough game against the Bills. And they're going to be tired. They could be vulnerable. Who knows? Hopefully, cross your fingers, no injuries at that point. But who knows what's going to happen. The Bears game is a prime example of a trap game, as the 49ers might underestimate their opponent because, it's just the Bears. No, you got to be careful about those games. So the third trap game, and this is where I kind of, like I said, I haven't seen anybody else mention this one yet, is week 10 against Tampa. Right there. So week 10 against Tampa, I think coming off the bye week, the 49ers, I think they're going to be hyped up. They're going to be overconfident because they're going to have beat the Cowboys week 8, and having that extra week of rest, this could lead to them overlooking the Bucs. Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, Rashid White will likely have better chemistry at that point. The Bucs could surprise everyone and pose a serious challenge. The Bucs, despite their struggles last year, have a core talented players capable of big things. I mean, we've all seen Mike Evans, what he can do, and Baker Mayfield. As much as I think it was more the teams that he was on that hurt him early in his career. I think he's a decent quarterback. So if Mayfield finds his rhythm and their defense steps up, this game could easily swing into Tampa's favor. We have to stay sharp and not let the bye week lull us into a false sense of security. So, with that said, let's transition into something a little more interesting. Well, not that wasn't interesting, but will Ricky Pearsall return punts for the 49ers? I mean, it is his rookie season and all. So, rookie wide receiver Pearsall is the prime candidate, I think, for returning punts. He's drafted him in the first round, but just because of who else we have right now, yes, Ayuk's going to stay. At least I'm going to keep saying that. So, since we have Ayuk, we have Samuel, we got Jennings, we still have Kittle, Juszczyk. I could keep going, but I think Ricky Pearsall is good candidate to do something with catching the ball and running. And what a good way to start by doing returns. Last season at Florida, he returned 11 punts for 126 yards, which means he averaged 11.5 yards per punt. That's a first down every time he returns a punt. That's awesome. The 49ers also could ask fellow rookie wide receiver Jacob Cowing to return punts, considering he's faster than Pearsall. But last season, Cowing only averaged just 5.9 per punt return, which is beyond awful. He didn't seem to have the knack for the return punts. So let's keep him out of that. I still think Pearsall is better. I'm also guessing that the 49ers will go with Pearsall mostly because he's sure-handed. Remember, Ray McCloud is off the team because he muffed a punt in the Super Bowl. McCloud tried to scoop it up and run with it rather than fall on it. Of course, the ball bounced off his hands, and the Chiefs recovered deep in 49ers territory. A month later, the 49ers let McCloud sign with the Falcons. See ya. Pearsall has extremely strong hands, so if nothing else, he should be able to catch the ball and hang on to it. So let's transition right into speaking of Super Bowl stuff. Super Bowl odds and key players. The 49ers have the best roster in the NFL. No one's doubting that. They still that still isn't enough to get them to the top of the early Super Bowl odds from BetMGM. San Francisco is the favorite to make the Super Bowl out of the NFC, but they trail behind the Kansas City Chiefs, a big surprise, as the favorite to win the whole thing. Here's what the updated odds look like with last season's Super Bowl participants far outpacing the rest of the field. So the Chiefs, you see, we got plus 600, 49ers plus 650. Then it goes Ravens, Lions, Bills, Bengals, Eagles. I still wouldn't even put the Eagles where that is, but I'm not a professional in doing that. So while the 49ers may have an overall better roster than Kansas City, it's hard to fault any book that puts the Chiefs over the San Francisco 49ers, since the 49ers have yet to beat them in the regular season or postseason since Shanahan took over as the head coach. Yeah. So the Achilles kryptonite for Shanahan at the moment does seem to be Kansas City. Kansas City also won the Super Bowl last season and has improved its roster at all its weak position. Improved its roster at its weakest position, which was wide receiver. So not only did they win the Super Bowl last year, they did improve on what their worst position was. So yeah, I can understand why they're at where they're at, but you can tell that they are not super high up. I almost forgot I left that up. So individual player projections. The 49ers collectively are expected to dominate. They're going to dominate the 2024 season. But how will San Francisco's many stars perform individually? So a report by ESPN's Mike Clay recently released statistical projections for all 32 teams and their players. And here's how some of the notable 49ers are supposed to look next year, according to Clay. Brock Purdy. Clay predicts that the 49ers quarterback will experience a slight decline next season. In 2024, Purdy's projected a total of 3,899 passing yards and 24 touchdowns with 11 interceptions. For comparison, the NFL MVP finalist had 4,280 yards passing and 31 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. It's probably because they're not sure about what's happening with Brandon Aiyuk yet. So I think that will go up once Aiyuk finally signs, and I'm going to keep saying it. Yes, Aiyuk is going to stay with the team. So once he signs, I think these odds are going to change a little bit. I think we'll become even with Kansas City in the odds just on that alone. Now, Christian McCaffrey, the reigning offensive player of the year, is expected to surely be in the running again. He's projected to rush for 1,200 yards and 12 touchdowns, nearly topping his 1,287 yard campaign last year. As a receiver, he's projected to reel in 70 catches for 574 yards and 4 touchdowns. But we also have to remember, and who knows if it's just a tactic or whatnot, but Shanahan did say that he's going to try to keep McCaffrey a little less touches, just to keep him healthy, which is fine because I think Jordan Mason is up to the challenge, and I brought this up in previous episodes. Elijah Mitchell, I personally don't think is going to be on the team much longer. So Jordan Mason will be able to cover whatever Christian McCaffrey isn't. Wide receiver Deebo Samuel, after a 1,300-yard, 12-touchdown season, Samuel is expected to be the top threat again in 2024. Clay predicts that the 28-year-old will catch 73 passes for 1,032 yards and 6 touchdowns, as well as rush 19 times for 120 yards. Actually, I'm guessing it's going to be just a little more than that, but that's still pretty decent. George Kittle, the top tight end in football, isn't predicted to hit his 1,146 yards total in 2024. He's I take that back. He is. Oh no, I said that right. Isn't predicted. Yes, I'm reading off a script, just so I don't lose my place. But yes, he isn't predicted to hit his mark that he did last year. He's expected to finish the season with 73 receptions for only 940 yards, 449 yards, and 6 touchdowns. I actually think, sorry, Clay, Mr. Clay, that I'm going to have to disagree with you on this one. I think he will at least hit very close to what he did last year, or just a hair above. I think he's going to get that 1,100 plus yards, and he's going to get 8 to 10 touchdowns. Nick Bosa, I think I think he's going to have more sacks than what Clay is saying. But Clay predicts the reigning Defensive Player of the Year will experience a slight decline, totaling 14 sacks in 2024 after finishing with 15.5 in 2023. I actually think that's going to be a little more. I think he's going to break that record. Isn't it like 16 and a half, or was it 18 and a half? Either way, I think he's going to get up there. I think he's going to tie it or break it. But that's just me. Clay says 14 sacks. Still, he'll be up there with the best defenders and help the 49ers finish with 41 sacks as a team. Our new kicker, rookie Isaiah Jaded, coming in to replace veteran Zane Gonzalez. Jade is expected to make 29 of 36 attempts. I also think, speaking of kickers, our wonderful kicker that we do have, Jake Moody, he's gonna have a much better season. So I don't think that Clay here is accurate on Isaiah. I don't think Isaiah's going to get in there all that much at all. So I think, if anything, we change that to say Jake Moody is going to make 31 out of 35 attempts. Moody's going to have a much better season than he did last year. He'll be a lot more calm. He'll have a lot more experience under his leg. It'll be much better. So that's all for today. Thank you for tuning in. We've covered some potential trap games, some special teams updates, Super Bowl odds, and individual projections. Don't forget to like, comment, and again, subscribe. I only need 9 more. 9 more at least to go live. The more, the better. For more updates and insights of our beloved San Francisco 49ers. So until next time, stay faithful.